Namaste. I hope you're all doing well. Today we'll try to learn how to create this kind of lens effect that you can see in many of Vox's videos and other similar kind of documentary style videos. So in order to first start this, let's start with a new blank project. I'm going to firstly make some folders to properly organize my project file. So inside the assets folder, I'm going to drag in a few assets to firstly create the background. So these are assets for the background. I have a kind of paper animation, some canvases that have been stained because I'm trying to create a map kind of effect. I want it to be a bit more grungy. So I start by adding paper animation to my composition, and I change the frame rate to 12 because I want it to be a kind of like a stop motion kind of animation. And I'm just going to adjust first I'm just going to adjust it to 4 seconds, then I will change it, make it a bit longer. And I'm just going to firstly make this a 3D layer. I'm going to keyframe a few things and then adjust these orientations randomly. So but I just wanted to make it like in the like addition of 180 degrees, so I just want to rotate it 180 degrees at a time. That can be in X, Y or Z axis, and I'm just going to make it whole frames, so it's just going to be like a stop motion kind of thing, and it's just going to snap between keyframes, and I'll just adjust it to my taste accordingly. So my first background is ready, and I'm just going to try to make it a bit more grungy and a bit more old looking, so more like a vintage kind of thing. So I'm just going to add like a few film grains, and I'm just going to make it a bit more vintage. I'm moving fast forwarding through it. If you want in-depth tutorial about it, like how to create more vintage looks and like paper cuts and etc., I can make a separate video for it. But now just move along with it. Just add elements, make it like vintage elements, make it more brownish, like it has been weathered down due to water and sunlight and etc., and just try to make it more like brownish orangey, and just move things around a bit. I would recommend orienting all of this in like near about like 180 degrees at a time, because that way it snaps to your exact frame size, composition size, and there is no much hassle. You can just copy and paste these orientations to different layers, then you can adjust them manually like I have been doing in this. I'm just going to fast forward through it. So and lastly, I'm just going to add a few speckle textures, and I might be done with this, and this is my final background. So now let's start creating the lens, the actual lens effect. So I'm just going to name my composition first layer lens composition, and again it's in 12 frames per second. I want it to be kind of like stop motion kind of animation. And I'm firstly going to keep it inside the composition folder because I just want to manage it properly. Then I'm going to create a map asset folder, and I'm going to bring some map assets that I have downloaded. Now you can use any assets. I'm just using these map assets because these are what I found online, and I just want to represent my hometown of Kathmandu. And firstly, I'm just going to adjust it to my needs. This seems to be perfect. Just trying to get a hold of this whole size right of the composition, right? And then now I'm going to try to create this a lens that will be like that will overlay. I will overlay on top of my actual composition, and just center aligning it, and then I'm going to remove the anchor point towards the bottom right. So in that way, you can also snap it to guides, and you can use like to snap guides to make it a bit more snappier, but just adjust it. It does not need to be perfect. So I'm doing this because now we can rotate it from that anchor point. It's easier to do it, and then I can add motion. So it's like we are flipping like a microscope, and it's just adjusting the size, right? So this is the first fill there. I'm just going to name it lens fill, and then I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to create a stroke around it. I want to create like a lens border. So I'm just going to name it lens stroke, and I'm going to parent the fill to the stroke. You can do it any other way, but this is a easier, better way. And I'm just going to add stroke. Now I just need to adjust the stroke to properly fit my size. So let me just bring it inside, and then so I'm just going to make it 30, maybe 40. I think 50 looks good. So I'm just going to add a Gaussian blur around the lens stroke part. I mistakenly like made it a bit too blurry in the last one, so I'm just trying to narrow it down, hold it down a bit, and then I'm just going to I want my map to only be visible inside the lens fill area, so I'm just trying to track method. So if you do this, it should be around the same size of your lens fill. And now it's time to use keyframes to animate it. So firstly, just let it go outside your composition, and then you can add a keyframe, and you can add a keyframe to this rotation and go like 5 frames, somewhat a bit ahead. You don't need to make it exact for this. For now, you can adjust it accordingly, then bring it down. Don't take it all the way down. Then this is just a design aesthetic that you can change accordingly. Bring it up, bring it down, and adjust to how much size, how much movement you want to make it. And after you are done, I'm just going to fast forward through it till you're done. Just try to do ease in and ease out, and in that way you can now look at the base. If you're okay with this, then it should be fine, but I think it's a bit slower on the entry, and also a bit time consuming. It's like more like 6 seconds or so I'm just going to reduce the time somewhat. And I'm just trying to get an eye for it. It does not exactly need to be like narrowed down to a science, but it needs to look good to the eye. So, but it takes a bit time to do this, but so I'm not going to exactly spend the time doing it right now. If I have more time, I'll definitely be looking at it. So this is something you want to really finalize before trying to create other like first lens, second lens, and third lens as well. So just make sure you narrate this motion down. So I'm just going to leave it at that, and I'm going to move forward with it. Now the map is actually a bit modern-ish. It does not look vintage, so I'm just adding the background that we prepared earlier. It also adds like a stop motion effect to it, and I'm just going to I'm just going to put my background down, and I'm going to use this map as a multiply effect. So it's just lighting does not work, and I just did it for multiply, and so it does allow the background to come through, but the background seems a bit too harsh. So I'm just going to reduce the size of the background by a little bit, 20%. Maybe that's too much. So I'm just going by a little bit, and it's going to be 70%, and it seems good to me. Now the background seems to run out quite easily, so let me just move forward with extending the background. Now I'm just opening the composition, and I'm adjusting the duration to like 20 seconds. That should be enough. Now you want this animation to loop, so firstly just pull it around, and in the MOV file you can just add you can just freeze on the last frame, and then you can just move the orientation around. So instead of copying the keyframes from time and again, you can just use a simple expression called loop out, and inside it you can just add cycles inside a quotation bracket. So what that does, that just loops around, it loops your keyframes around and around again to infinity. So I think I missed the film here. I'm just going to add it to the film as well, and this should be good for now. It will continue for as long as you need. If you need to adjust your compositions accordingly, you can do it. So now I'll just extend my background to be a bit more longer, and as you can see, the background keeps on looping and it looks a bit more vintagey. Now we need to add the lens effect, the actual lens effect. So I'm going to select my image, so the image of the map in my context, and I'm just going to add, I'm just going to search effect and search CC lens, and I'm going to add it. And as you can see, it really creates a lens kind of effect. So I'm just going to adjust the size. 200 seems to be a good option, but I quite like the lengthiness, the lankiness of the edges when you bring it down a bit. So I'm just going to make it 180. Now we need to animate it in motion of the lens, actual like the circular lens. So just adjust the center. When it's coming down, bring the center down. When it's going up, you can bring the center up again. Then again, when it's coming down, bring it a bit more down. Don't make it more down than the previous one, and you can adjust it accordingly as much as you need. Just eyeball it. Make sure that whatever thing that you want in the center is actually in the center, and just ease in, ease out. You can use any effect. It does not really matter for this because it's mostly in stop motion, so it does not really matter. And I think this is looking quite good. Maybe the size is a bit too much, so I'm just going to use 200. Yeah, looks good for now. Now I'm just going to add another effect called chromatic aberration. It just makes things look like when you're looking through a lens, you can see some sort of chromatic aberration. I'm just trying to recreate it. Now when you add it, it just adds chromatic aberrations to the center. So if you invert the fall off, it's going to add it towards the edges, makes it more natural. The center looks clear, and the edges that you don't want to be in highlight looks a bit chromatic. So I'm just going to create a new main composition where I'm going to add my first lens composition, and I'm just going to duplicate this composition once again, and I'm going to create it as second lens composition, and I'm going to replace my image with another image. Preferably you want something that is a bit more zoomed in, but it's not really required. So I'm just going to use this map of Nepal that I found online. Credits to the author, and it's in the description. And I'm just going to repeat the same effect, the same lens effect and the same background effect. So I just want to do this 3 times. So for the first layer, then the second layer, then the third layer. I'm just going to fast forward through it because it's something that I've already done. If you want a more detailed look into it, you can just write it in the comment section down below, and I will try to upload it and go into more detail. So I'm just going to fast forward through it. And you preferably want to adjust the motion a bit, but not so much, so that it looks natural but not natural than the first one. And then in the third lens effect, I had a black and white kind of a map, so I'm just using tritone effect to make it a bit more orangey brownish. And I'm just going to again do the same, add the lens effect, add the chromatic aberrations, and add the background effect. Now all I want to do is then finally layer all of these 3 motions side up, like up and down, and I'm going to adjust it as per needed. The motion looks a bit off, but for a tutorial I think it's fine. You can make changes accordingly, and you can just do as you please with the motion. Try to make the motion a bit varied between different lens effects. And the last thing that you would probably want to consider is, it's not really necessary, but as you can see, these circles have sharp edges around them, so you would preferably want to blur these edges out. So I am using Gaussian blur, the trusty old Gaussian blur, with an effect of 200 to kind of blur the side edges. You can use roughen edges as well, or you can just use fast motion blur, but Gaussian blur seems to do the job. So that is how you create a lens zoom in kind of effect. Now you can go further, and you can add any other effect on top of it. You can also add blur to make it your own. So just go and forward and create it, and be sure to tag me when you create your own effect. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.